Hello again, I'm Judy Fishel. In the first video for flexible time management, we covered the use of a calendar and a weekly schedule to organize class and study time. This video, we will add 4 power strategies. I define power strategies as strategies that can change the way you learn. They might even change your life. The first power strategy is to set your own goals. Which of these are most important to you? Take time later to develop a serious list of your goals. Now, let's focus on educational goals. Too many students assume that their school knows best and that the school will give them a good education. But how could they? Each student is different. The education needed to reach each student's goal is different from the other students. Education isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Consider your lifetime and your educational goals and decide what kind of education is best for you, and then make a plan on how you will get that education. What do you want to learn? What skills will you need? For example, if you think writing is a skill you should work on, then you can work on writing in nearly every course you take. What activities and social relationships are important to get what you'd call a great education? To reach your educational goals, you should develop a study plan for every course you take. Here is an outline for a one-page study plan. It's the plan I used when I was in college. You can use this one, or you can create a plan of your own. This shows some of the detail from my plan for an upper-level biology class. Would I expect you to have a detailed plan like mine? No way. Most of my plans were short and simple, but this was an important course. This was my list of strategies. The preliminary plan was written before the first class, and as you can imagine, it got me off to an excellent start. After the first class, I studied the syllabus and made some changes. And then after 1, maybe 2 weeks, I rewrote the plan and the list of strategies. The process of setting personal and educational goals and then creating a plan for every class is powerful. If you're serious about your plan, you really are taking charge of your own learning. The second power strategy is independent study. If you study something just because you're interested in the topic, you do enjoy reading about it. You remember it longer. But what we learn just to make good grades often seems boring, and we soon forget most of it. Here's an example of independent learning. Greg decided to learn about birds. He read a few books about birds. He bought a bird book and a pair of binoculars, and he began bird watching. You might decide that you'd rather study local history, marine biology, or how to play a musical instrument. You might study insects, astronomy, world religions, or cooking. You might study computer coding, archaeology, endangered animals, or painting. You can stick to one subject or choose a new topic every week or two. I suggest adding at least 5 hours a week to study something just because you want to. Read about it if you'd like. Talk to a professor or an expert in the field. Explore the subject on your own. Some students find that independent study helps make required classes seem more interesting. The third power strategy is to divide your study time. Too often students read the chapter and think they're through studying. Studying should really be what you do after you finish reading. The list here shows some of the possibilities. This is a small section of a weekly schedule. Notice that for each hour I have listed at least one study strategy. Using a variety of active strategies is more interesting and helps you learn more. And finally, my favorite power strategy for flexible time management is flex time. It's the strategy that makes time management flexible. Start by adding to your weekly schedule 8 to 10 hours a week marked flex time, or just flex. Be sure that you have at least 1 hour of flex time a day, at least on days when you study. If you can't finish your work in the usual time, finish it during flex time. If you choose to do something else, like talk to your friends when you should be studying, that's fine, it really is. Time with friends is important, but do the work later in flex time. If you have a paper to write, don't panic. And don't use time when you should be studying other subjects. I'd even say don't use your free time. Use flex time. And then, best of all, if you don't need flex time that day, guess what? It all becomes free time. Remember Aiden and his terrible schedule? After dropping Spanish, he kept notes on the time needed in other classes and made some adjustment. Here is Aiden's weekly schedule now. You can see flex time in red and independent study in blue. Most of his independent study time is on Saturday, and that's because Aiden decided to study caves. He and several other spelunkers explore and study the caves in the area. He's also reading about how caves are formed. And now, notice how he improved his schedule. He has 4 hours of study time on Sunday, but he plans to do them using flex time so that his weekends will be free except for cave exploring. Next, Aiden has math homework right after math class every day, and writing homework right after writing classes. Aiden now has 3 hours of free time every weekday, if he counts flex time. He had less free time than that when he was in high school. And finally, Aiden cut back to just 2 hours of study time each night. This is your education. Decide what you really want to learn and how you want to learn it. Think about the strategies described in the video: setting goals, independent study, dividing study time, and using flex time. Use the strategies that will help you get the great education that you want and need. You might begin by trying one new strategy and then add others gradually. Or, if you're like me, go ahead and try them all at once. If you have questions or comments, leave them on the website or send me an email.